We're just days away from the Safer Kentucky Act taking effect. That bill will make sweeping changes to the state's criminal landscape.
Although some argue it'll disproportionately impact indigent people, including the unhoused. WKYT's Samantha Valentino shows us Lexington's faith communities have a plan to take a stand against the bill.
The Catholic Action Center has been anything but shy about their disapproval of the Safer Kentucky Act. They say the Tough on Crime bill criminalizes homelessness. This morning, they announced their plan to take a stand against the bill as it goes into effect in just 5 days. The bill bans people from camping or sleeping in public areas. The penalty is a violation for the first offense and a Class B misdemeanor for the second. The Catholic Action Center says throwing people in jail is not the answer to fixing homelessness. They and community faith leaders came together at Legends Field to call on the people of Lexington to join them in their fight against the bill. Their message today was that there's room for all people in God's backyard, those who are housed and unhoused. According to the Catholic Action Center's summer count conducted last August, there are 2,410 homeless individuals in Lexington. This includes those temporarily staying with friends or at motels, and people in jails, in hospitals, or in treatment programs who will not have homes to return to when released. From Kentucky Department of Education data, 1,097 Fayette County Public School students experienced homelessness during the 2023-2024 school year. Catholic Action Center Director Jeannie Ramsey says the Safer Kentucky Act will only create more barriers to housing and employment for those facing homelessness here in Lexington.
We need to take action. It's never been a more critical time in the lives of folks who are experiencing homelessness.
The Catholic Action Center is now calling on Kentuckians to help them support the unhoused community. They're hosting a community response gathering at 7 p.m. on August 22nd at Lexington's Consolidated Baptist Church. Anyone is welcome to attend. In Lexington, Samantha Valentino, WKYT.